Good morning, Denise Dryden here. I am so glad you joined me, and it's a windy day and you can sort of hear the wind going back and forth, and there's so much to talk about. And today we're going to do the art of dismantling. So I want to sort of talk about the fact that there's this new moon, right? There's a new moon. There's at least in the state of Washington, Governor Isley's putting out this, new phases of lockdown. We're getting ready for a second lockdown. And we've been removed from so many different systems, whether it's family, whether it's religion, whether it's the way we work, our education systems, the fact that we couldn't go and do what we normally do when we want to vote. These are all things that have been sort of changing on us, and we've become really dependent on Wi-Fi. We're dependent on Wi-Fi for our work, for our school, for our news, for our connection. And it seems like there's been some requests, right, from the larger picture to sort of look at this and figure out, how do we feel about all of this, right? So the art of dismantling is that we're facing systems that are not adapting the way we need them to adapt, especially in these last 8 to 9 months, right? They're just, they're beginning to dismantle in front of us, and we're like, oh no, what do we do when this doesn't work? So I want to start by going to January 12th, 2020. And if you go back, I've talked about this, and part of what I've done is through 2 different kinds of mystery schools, and part of my own passion and incorporating into my coaching is that I've started working with astrology as an information tool. And on January 12th, 2020, we had Saturn, Pluto lined up coming into Capricorn. And, again, that might not mean anything to anybody. It also means that Jupiter was right above it, expanding it and making it bigger and bigger. Now, what happened was it started a massive change. And historically, the last time these two with Jupiter landed in Capricorn was 505 to 503 years ago, which was when the Reformation started and when the Renaissance started. So we're not talking about small changes, right? We're talking about some really big stuff. So something broke. Something was identified 500 years ago, and they said, no, we're not doing this anymore. And then everything started to dismantle and shift around that new change. So when we move something forward, everything has to loosen its grip and adapt and move with it in order to match it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when we look at 2020, what have you been dealing with? What have you been dismantling? Is it at home? Is it in your relationships? Is it at work? Is it in your community? What's going on? Because, and I don't know if I have it on here. I thought I did. And maybe I do. On December 21st, we've got another one of these landings. Only this time, instead of being in Capricorn, it's in Aquarius. And so everything's coming to a head next month. And so we're in this process of dismantling. So I want to go through the definitions of dismantling, right? So to dismantle is to pull down, to take apart, to disassemble, to undo, to strip. It means that we're going to take a structure or a machine and we're going to put it in pieces. So, I don't know how many of you used to do this when you were little, or you have kids that did this. They took apart radios, we took apart TVs, toasters, computers, bicycles, cars, jewelry, and then we put them back together. Sometimes we put them back together the way they were and try to master that. Can I put it back exactly the way it was? And then you've got this pile of parts and you're like, uh-oh. Or you use the parts for something really different and really new, right? And that's when it becomes something that's incredibly creative. So what we know is how to take things apart. We know how to do this intrinsically. And what we're learning now is how to take apart systems. So I wanted to show you, it's not meant to be scary, but it is a very daunting card, right? So this is the tarot card of the death card, and it's a skeleton holding a scythe, and he's cutting at, I don't know if you can see that, he's cutting at all these anchor lines that have been holding something very solid. And as he cuts them, you can see the bubbles sort of emerging, sort of freeing up energy. Now in another deck, that's with the Crowley deck, this is the Osho deck. And in the Osho, I'm going to put it right over here. And in the Osho deck, you've got somebody sleeping and doing their own transformation, and then the rising of the phoenix coming out. This is the same version of death. Is that what we do is we transform things. Is that it's not really about dying, it's about releasing things that no longer serve us. So this death card is also a Scorpio. It represents the zodiac sign of Scorpio. It's the letting go, cutting off of things that no longer serve us. Cutting away the pain, cutting away the dissonance, the rigidity, the enslavement. So I think this is really interesting. I looked this up a year ago to this date. November 10th, but it was the same week that I did this presentation. I did a video on adept, having adeptness, right? And to be adept is being an expert, and it's being proficient at something. It's being accomplished, skillful. It's being artful, handy, competent, well-trained, well-prepared, with a level of specific knowledge and highly skilled in a subject. So to be adept at something means that, I've been training at this for a long time. And I think, I'm a Renaissance and medieval historian. I've been educating and working within family systems for the last 25 years. And I have 2 separate mystery school trainings on metaphysical and adaptive pieces. So what I try to do is take the traditional information and then use new information to build stories around it. So to be an adept means that you lead, that you overtake or catch up with what's going on. I need to be out there in the front of it, seeing what's going on. You prepare and create pathways. You stand out from others because you have great abilities and you've combined the intellect with your spiritual information. So being adept means that I'm at least to me, that I'm a thinker who goes beyond the norms and starts to introduce new information. Now in Latin, adepti is those who have attained those who have attained the esoteric secrets of alchemy. So they're using alchemy. They're putting alchemy in here, the hermetic principles, the concepts of magic. And in medieval Latin, adeptus is the person who's learned the secrets of alchemy. So then we go to alchemy, because this is how my mind works. I go down the rabbit hole and I start putting these pieces together so I can explain them to you, that they're all interconnected. So alchemy is the transformation of matter from one form into another. It's from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. It's transmuting, and alchemy is also transmuting base metals into gold. So you're transforming, you're becoming more creative with what's out there. I like that as well. I've got my notes on a metal plate up there so that they don't blow around in this surging wind. So you see where I'm going with this. We're in a time where we take apart what no longer serves us. We are, each in this particular version of what is that? What is it that I'm taking apart? And so for some of you, you might discover that it's a new way of working that suits you, and you want to explore new ways to do this. I like working from home. I like keeping my own hours. Another thing you might do is you might discover how to sustain and nurture yourself in your body by cooking more meals at home, by doing some exercises, or getting out and walking in the middle of the day and being in nature. You're like, this works for me better than I ever thought it would. You may discover that your partner and you are ill-suited after being locked in together in a house and trying to sort of navigate through change, that you're not on the same page anymore and you don't know what to do about this. You also may discover that your child is so miserable because school was never about the education. School was about schoolmates and company and playing and distractions from the actual grid work of doing traditional education. You also might discover that your work is heading you in a different direction and you can't go. You don't like what they're doing. You don't like where they're going. And your entire body and soul is telling you this. You also may discover so many pieces of information that are out there beyond what the local news or national news is offering. And you're like, I need to know more. So what is it that you're discovering? What is it that's lighting you up? Because the art of dismantling is knowing what you know and what you want to know, and then removing the layers and the pieces and the people that don't help you with this anymore. I use the Tower card. This is one of my favorites. It's when everything that no longer serves you just starts falling off. starts disappearing, going away. That's in one deck. In this one, it's intense. It's lots of fire. There's lots of storms. There's lots of earthquakes. Buildings are cracking and falling away. Yet there's this big eye of Ra, sort of like, I'm here to guide you. So these are all the things that we break away, that keep us, or that we, how do I want to say this? We want to break away. We want to remove the things that keep us from the things we want to know more about, the things that we want to study, the things that we want, that we know we want. So we're taking life apart, we're dismantling it, we're disassembling it, and we're undoing it, okay? And when we undo it, it comes with a certain amount of change, right? So there's tips. I got tips for you. I never do this without tips. I try to give you something to work with, right? So I think the first thing is to recognize when there's a problem, that you're aware. Oh my gosh, I'm aware that this is coming up, that there's a concern, that there's a problem, that there's dissonance. Oh yeah, there it is. It's right there in front of me. And spend some time pondering it, looking at it and going like, oh wow, there it is. I really never wanted to look at this, but there it is. How long has that been there? What am I noticing? What do I need to do about this, right? So the second thing is to resist having an answer already played out. Well, I'm already decided I'm going this way. Because we don't know the answers yet, because life is changing so fast, right? So what we do is we take things apart in a creative process. And you may find some things as you take apart, you go, oh, that's interesting. Because you want the pieces that you're disassembling to inform you. You don't want to, just knock it all down and call a truck to take it away, and then you're stuck with nothing. You want to take it apart and watch your own reaction as you go along. So number 3, use your trained eye, your skills, your adeptness, right? To remove the pieces and observe the changes. If I do this, what happens over there? If I do this, what happens over there? So, you disassemble, you notice. You disassemble and you notice. This is what we do. And then, because you're ready for this. You've been training your whole life for this. You disassemble and you notice. Number 4, you open up your sphere of influence and you ask questions to others. You start doing research into non-known places for new ideas, to try new things. Because it's kind of like when you take something apart and it's all gucky. Whether it's an automobile, part or a rusted old piece of metal. What you do is you take the rust off, and then you're like, oh, so that's what that part looks like. Because you want to be able to see it clearly. Number 5, go as fast or as slow as you need to, because this is about how to inform you, right? This is what you need. So, you can choose to align or disalign with other people as you're going along, but this is a solo path. This is what you need to do, because the changes are happening and you're unfolding in that. So as you are dismantling, you're dismantling some of the constructs that you held, some of the conditioning that you held. Number 6, be the alchemist. By all means, be the alchemist. With every change, assess and trust yourself to know what to do next. And use your skills of balance and centeredness and breathing as you step through, like, oh boy, I did not expect that one. And then you kind of come back to center. You transform yourself and you go, next, what's the next piece? Because the alchemist knows that you're transforming something. The alchemist knows that you have to let go of what was. Number 7, look for ways to use what you're learning to assemble something else, something new, to construct new levels of relationships and perspectives, to combine modalities and information in your own research and ancient wisdoms, and get curious about things like tarot cards and divination tools and intuition, because these things are part of the alchemist. They're part of what guides them, is that their gut tells them what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, right? And number 8, okay? Number 8, aid yourself at all times, and those around you, and to those that you love, so that you can stay on the path. Lean on other people, give them a love, give them hugs. This is a hard time. This is a time for love and compassion. So I want to leave you with a tool that I've been asking each of my clients this week to do, which is take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and on one side, write down what no longer serves me. And just be really brutally honest with what no longer serves you. And then on the other side, what do I want to create? And then take a look at what is it that really wants to be dismantled right now. So these are the kind of things I do weekly, every Sunday morning on 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I also have them more of my videos on my website and on my YouTube station. So you can find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. You have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.